Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tea with G at a later hour than I normally do it. But it was I was up late last night. Family was movie night. Chocolate covered pretzels and chocolate ice cream and chocolate bonbons and popcorn and all sorts of good stuff with the kids. So hello to you all and welcome. Although this isn't much of a difference in time for the European folks. Matter of fact, a lot of them said yay because their clocks went back off of the daylight savings time last night. Yeah, early this morning. We in the over in the other hemisphere, other side of the house. We we don't do it until 2 weeks actually. Very confusing time. So anyway, hello all, and if the sound is okay, because not always quite sure. I move around a lot, and I have gotten many different comments about my picture here, which is one of my favorites. I got that when I was on retreat, and it was actually painted by my teacher, by my master. He was an artist, still is, but pretty much that's what he did before his own spiritual awakening had taken place. So, remember why you're here. It's to remember who you are. And that's really the whole point. And if we're really perceptive about it, if we really look hard, we find that you really can't forget because all remembering and forgetting takes place within the consciousness that is you. So when we forget who we are, what it really means is that we have identified ourselves with form and not with actually what we are. Our minds remember and forget, but mind is only a functioning. It's not even a thing. It's only the flow of thoughts. And like everything in the universe, thoughts flow in patterns. Right? Everything's a pattern, energy. Right? We like to use that term. That's fine. It's a fine term. Everything is a pattern of energy, a vibration in the void, you might say. Even the tiniest little identifiable particles that we used to think were the building blocks of all of we experience really aren't. They themselves are a vibration, what they like to, the quantum field. But I've heard several experts on quantum say that doesn't even cover it. That these vibrations, these energy patterns, that the real substance of them, the real source, is consciousness. This is a path of disidentifying with a particular form, namely this body, this person, these beliefs, this history, these ideas, these concepts, this culture, that culture, and the like, all of which are changeful, limited, and quite confining, really. And in that process, where you're not just disidentifying with a particular form, you're disidentifying with form entirely. I'm not trying to exchange a limited form for a less limited form, because all form, by definition, is limited, isn't it? No matter how good it is, no matter how perfect I could make everything, it would be limited, and eventually you would find it confining. you'd be unhappy there. It's like anything, you get something new, a nicer car, a bigger house, or different job. Anything where it's changed, where it's a little more expansive, you can do more, there's more freedom, maybe get more respect and acknowledgement. And it's wonderful compared to where you were. But eventually, maybe quickly, maybe it'll take a while, you'll find that confining too. Because the nature of form, the nature of experience, is to expand. It is a very natural part of human beings to expand, to grow, to build, to innovate, to change. But no matter what we grow into, our vision is going to be beyond it, and eventually we will find that this form too is confining, constricting, uncomfortable, and you'll want to be free of it. That thing you thought you just could not live without, next thing you know, you're dropping it off at a donation store. You just can't wait to get rid of it. And I've actually picked up some very nice, expensive clothing for nothing. I got a very nice jacket for $15, with maybe 13 with my senior discount. And it was, it was like almost new condition. Somebody had gotten tired of it, didn't like it anymore. We outgrow things. But if we look at that if we contemplate that, what's wrong with my tongue today? We discover that it's inevitable that all form is going to be confining if I identify with it. Now, if there's no identification with it, it is simply a vehicle through which you're expressing yourself. And it isn't confining anymore, because it doesn't define or outline or constrict you. It's only this vehicle. I mean, if you're playing a flute, you can't expect to play piano. The piano literature. And the piano, you don't play the flute. Everything has its particular place. If I become that, if I identify with that, this is who I am, I'm inevitably going to feel the constriction, because consciousness, what you actually are, is unbounded. And consciousness it can easily embody a form, express through that form, quite contentedly, but never get stuck in it, never feeling as though this is what I am. It's only what I'm doing, what I'm experiencing, the vehicle through which I'm speaking. And we all have a voice, our unique voices, right? Do a voice print. There's no two voices that are alike. Now, if you somehow, I don't like my voice, I wish I had a different voice, you're going to feel very confined by that. But if instead it's just, okay, this is the voice I got, what can I do with it? How do I make use of this? How do I find the beauty in this, and find the means by which my soul, me, my real me, consciousness, can express itself? This is the trick of human life. This is kind of the way in which we bring all human experience out of the realm of conflict and disappointment and pain, and get it out of the defensive posture that it gets in, and move it into its real nature, which is a vehicle for expression. That which is being expressed has no form, has no boundaries, has no borders, has no beginning, has no end, but can become seen when it is reflected in a form. Because of my long years as a musician, I have a lot of musician analogies, but when you hear a particular artist, right, who's really, really unique, they're really good, you can tell, you can hear it, you know? You hear a guitar solo, and it's Eddie Van Halen. You know it's Eddie Van Halen, you know it's Jimi Hendrix, you know it's Andre Segovia, Julian Bream, because there's something about that energy that is in that performance. It's a way in which it's done that nobody else does, and you can recognize it. Yet they themselves are not stuck in it. You can hear a piece by Mozart. Didn't write one piece, get in it, and never come out again. It's the same kind of thing. The reality of us, the essential oneness of us, God, if you like, is unknowable because it's not a thing or a form. How is it known? Through the way in which it manifests. And how does God manifest? Well, as absolutely everything. Everything. You are God looking in a mirror. Looks in the mirror and sees you. And you can look in the mirror and see God. This is our true nature. And for some reason God wanted it that way. What appeared in this is this capacity to identify with a form and get lost in it. Now, it's not completely a bad thing, right? As a musician, playing, the goal was to become so interconnected, so one with the instrument, that there was nothing in the way of what appeared as inspiration and its performance in the fingers. Now, interestingly enough, the performance could never quite ever live up to the vision, even though for many musicians it was just like absolutely spontaneous. I never got to that level. My hands were never able to do what I could hear. That's when I discovered computers, and I could write it. I could write it, even though I couldn't play it. But I completely forgot what I was doing on that track. Right, the means of expression, right, is what all of this is, and identification with it in the positive sense is I become so one with it, I inhabit it so one that it really becomes me. I've had the opportunity to sit in both fighter jets and also in race cars, like a Formula One race car. Didn't ever drive one or fly one, way beyond me, but to sit in it. And I actually had the same experience when I did river kayaking. In a river kayak, you get in, you kneel. It's a place where you can kneel, and it is so tight that your legs are touching the side, and then there's this bib around you so you can spin over and stuff. You actually get so comfortable, you feel like a duck. It becomes part of you, so that you're kind of animating it. The same thing was true when I sat in the cockpit of the race car and the I don't remember which one it was, an F something or other. It's just shoop, you just everything is right here, and it becomes just, you don't even think about it anymore. I imagine that's what it's like. Same thing with the race car. You don't even think about it. It's so spontaneous and reactive that there's no deliberation going. You're one with it. Now the fact is, you look back at children, the same thing is happening. No, a little kid can't do anything. They can't even roll over. They just kind of lay there. But little by little, you begin to you begin to notice, if you see a little kid noticing their hand, and suddenly they're doing things with it. It's almost as if you can see consciousness kind of taking on this form, sometimes reluctantly, to experience, and eventually it becomes second nature, right? We talk without thinking about it. I'm moving my hands in gestures here, and I'm not thinking I'm going to move my hand now. It's just happening because this becomes a vehicle. But part of that is that the mind does this too, and ends up being, I am that, without even using those words. I mean, if I spent my whole life in that river kayak, I would not have, the difference would have been just, I would have been that. How do you walk? I don't know how to walk. I can just float. And so the process of awakening is coming to realize that you're not the form. You've embodied in the form. The form is completely a servant to you. And the more that sense of I comes out of this is what I am, and back into what I am is the consciousness through which it's, and this is the vehicle through which it is expressing. This is where freedom opens up, both for you and how to use your particular vehicle, whatever it might be. It takes you out of self-judgment, self-denial. Why they've got it so good, I have it so bad. Look how beautiful she is. Look at how intelligent they are. All of that just falls away because it's the same consciousness animating everyone. And now it's, how do I use this? I did a little bit of playing of woodwinds. I played some sax, and I was trying to learn a little bit more of flute. So I went to was a really top-notch teacher of the instrument in Chicago, and I asked him, how do you do this? He said, here's what you do. You start at the lowest note, and you keep going till you get to the highest note, and you explore it. I'd never heard that from any teachers that I'd had before. So it was really interesting to just hang out on one note for a while. You find all the different things it could do and the like. And it was remarkable to actually get to see how much nuance and potential for expression there was in little bitty things, tiny things. Make such a difference. So anyway, you're not your mind. You're the consciousness that is a witness of it. But it's not a problem to be gotten rid of. It's a vehicle through which you express. It's transient, it's temporary. It's emanating from you, and it takes whatever shape you believe it to be. The same is true of your body. Constantly changing. Things I could do 50 years from now, I can't do anymore. But there's other things I can do that I couldn't do back then. Yeah. So anyway, I'm here for questions and answers. I've just been kind of rambling on because I don't know what I'm going to do when I sit down to do these. I hit the live button and we see what happens and we see what comes out. And I'm often as surprised by it as you guys are. Actually, most of the time I am. But now I gotta sit up here because the camera on a little screen on a table stand of some sort, so I can sit back and sip on my coffee. So let me just go through here, say hello to people, and also invite questions about what I've just been talking about, whatever's on your heart or mind. I'm open to questions that are non-dual self-inquiry, or emotional healing, anything in between. I don't want to put restrictions on it, simply because I found that both are necessary. And interestingly enough, the majority of people who are in my emotional healing programs are also in the self-inquiry Sangha. I don't find that to be any kind of contradiction there. Everything, the emotional healing is basically freeing yourself from the sense of identity so that your human life can be liberated from its limitations as well. And the capacity for expression of who you are in this form is increased, and the emotional pain and trauma and the like we've all suffered has simply restricted that. It's restricted our capacity to express ourselves by making us not only identified with form, but identified with the sense of ourselves that is not loved, that is not worthy, that is not useful, that isn't important, and etc., etc., etc. None of which is true. You are unique in all space and time. That's a fact. You've never been before. You never will be again. Nothing like you has ever existed before. Nothing like you will ever exist again. Because God, truth, reality, the self, consciousness is inexhaustible and never repeats itself. This moment will never repeat itself. It's which makes it so precious. Anyway, Rosario in Madrid. Hello. Savvy Stacker, Ali. I am so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. Oh, so good. I hope you have a really potent question for me today. Let me check my sound here really quick, because I'm finding myself talking more softly than I thought I was going to. So I'm going to push the volume up a little bit. I just finding my voice getting softer, so I'll just push the sound up. Ava, hello to Ava, Ida. Oh, the familiar faces, love it. Marty, Carl, good to see you, Carl. I don't think you've been here for a little bit, but good to see you. I believe you're in Ireland. Yeah. There's Ms. Nay. Hi, Jean, everybody. There's Tomas. Hello, friend. There's Sally. Sally, good to see you. Good. And Patricia, Path to Catherine Musical. Hello and much love from the City of Angels. Yeah, Patricia's another fellow musician that actually has written a musical that's still going. Yeah, wonderful. So no questions today? Everybody feels completely awake, enlightened, happy, content, dancing in the rain, etc. I have done that, by the way. It's wonderful. The floor is open for anything you would like me to dig into. On any scope. In the meantime, I'll just kind of sit here, and I'm kind of anal about things being straight, and it's kind of hard to do, especially when I start leaning against it. How's that? Yeah, good. I spend a lot of time trying to make a set. I just love working with the backgrounds and like God wins name. Yes, I remember you. Is there something Godwin's name? Is there something about that handle on YouTube? Because I'm not quite sure I get what the message. Maybe it's just God has won his name. Maybe that's the whole of it. I'm just kind of curious. All right, Sally. Good to see you too, GP. I've been really focusing on somatic experiencing via meditation. Still tapping to process whatever comes up. I felt I needed more healing before diving deeper into self-inquiry. Well, then you do. I never argue with anybody in terms of what it is they decide to explore. I've done somatic experiencing. I was fortunate enough to find a guy I could do it with who was also a Sufi master. So we could dive into deep non-dual self-inquiry, from his perspective and from mine, and at the same time anchor ourselves in the body. It was really quite a wonderful experience, and he actually had the same experience, had a similar experience to mine in his world, because in his world of the Sufi and Sufi mysticism, it was kind of the same thing. There was a lot of bypassing of emotional stuff, and he found he needed to find a way to anchor things into the body for exactly the same reason I did, in terms of the spiritual self-inquiry, because you can't ignore it. Non-dual self-inquiry is not a workaround for the kind of deep emotional healing that we all need. And we don't live in a time where we're all heading off to a monastery, right, or something to devote ourselves to that. And the culture of the West is very different than the culture of the East, where monastic life was a very different kind of thing. And you could just kind of isolate yourself from the world, because there wasn't all that much going on. But it's not the case anymore. The education we've got, the training, the associations, just the world we live in is so toxic now that we have to understand the impact that it's having on us, on the nervous system, on our being, so that we can, in the most healthy, direct, and powerful way, inquire deeply into who I really am. So when I'm the various levels, for lack of a better word, of emotional healing that I teach, they're all involve just the same processing going on and on and on, just kind of an expanding of an understanding of it. But as emotional healing takes place, what opens up is just is just bigger self-acceptance, self-love, understanding of why you got into the states and stuff that we get into. And in that understanding, you find self-acceptance, self-love, forgiveness. And in that, without this pressure on us, we have access to just our natural human capacities, our capacity for love, our creativity, and the like, less suffering. And from there, you can go even deeper into, well, then who am I beyond even this body, this life, this particular means of expression? How far does this capacity of expanding go? And I've just found that the emotional healing is essential for most people who are on the spiritual path, because it's just too easy in our world to gloss over that and try to find something to basically avoid and suppress the pain and suffering most of us are experiencing. And that's not its purpose. Eventually you find that the inquiry itself brings about the healing, the dissolving of what isn't true, and the adjusting of all the stuff in human life. But that's eventually. In the interim, there's techniques, somatic experiences, body-oriented kinds of things, but also tapping, which is my favorite, combined with just an honest willingness to look, to make it safe for yourself and others. And that eventually the techniques needed become less and less needed, less and less necessary, and just the inquiry itself, because now there's an environment in which it happens, and it can have the impact on the environment. I can't remember the last time I tapped on anything. I did a lot for a long time, and of course I teach classes, I do private sessions, so I am doing actually a lot of it, but not for myself, just because it's matured to the point where the inquiry is enough. But that takes as long as it takes. So, yeah, by all means, whatever it is that you get drawn to, be clear about it, because it's really easy to jump from one thing to another. That's a nice way that our minds keep us distracted. Make sure that you're digging in deeply into whatever it is you're doing, and you've gotten everything out of it, and you'll naturally find yourself navigating towards other things. And if you have a teacher that you can confide in who isn't dogmatic and wants it to be this way, it can help you be clear as to what it is you're being drawn to. Are you being distracted, or is this a phase of your growth? And sometimes it's not always clear. So, but I'm so happy for you. I was happy to just kind of watch the progress that you've made, and there were some times, and not that long ago, where there was just I just couldn't get past certain things, so I went and found somebody who did somatic experiencing, and worked on it for a bit, and it kind of helped precipitate a deepening of the inquiry that eventually did just kind of explode a deeply held assumption, a delusion really, that had been with me my whole life. In fact, I can even pinpoint when it started. It's about 16 or so. Yeah, it was very interesting, and very helpful. So do it. Let's see. Yeah. So what I can say is that they're not mutually exclusive, because you said I need more healing before delving deeper. True, I would agree, but don't say, okay, this. Let's not be so. Not everything fits into these neat categories. It's a continuum. It's a flow. So try just sitting with the self-inquiry and see if this inner, the somatic work that you're doing is actually helping. See if you can sit with it. See the effect that it's had. You don't have to pick it up and now I got to practice it. It's nothing like that. But just try, because for me, the self-inquiry is the ultimate practice. It's the final step, and everything we do to bring our whole hearts to it for the purpose of self-realization, not for the purpose of emotional healing, because that's not what it's for. It has that effect, but that's not what it's for. Right? So little by little, it becomes more and more about discovering the reality of you, and less about overcoming the challenges and the like. And that's a very natural progress that takes place. So just don't cut it off. Just try it. 5 minutes. Sit down and go, okay. I can see my thoughts. I can see my emotions. I can see my sensations. All of experience, I am seeing it. And if I can see it, it can't be me. So who am I that is seeing it? For no other reason than to know who you are. That's the only motivation. Right? And then just 5 minutes, just do that. See what happens. Because what you'll find is if you do it, not think about it, don't worry about it, maybe a little later, same day, next day, a couple days later, whatever, just do it again every now and then. Whenever it occurs to you, give it a try. You'll find that that little bit of effort will start to have an impact in ways that that could seem quite imperceptible. In fact, they are imperceptible. The effect they have eventually gets to the point where you notice that something's different. In the meantime, just keep doing what you're doing. Let it be just this natural thing that happens. I have never liked anything being regimented. Tried it. Even some spiritual practices were very, very disciplined. And I found so I couldn't do it. So I felt like I failed. Until I realized, right, you can't do it. That's not for you. Oh, and that's okay? Yeah, that's okay. We're all finding our own ways. And we're just helping each other along the way. So, let's see. May. AG, a lot of grief coming up surrounding the sacrifice of letting go of people, places, and patterns, especially people not aligned. It's really contrasting with this path. Yeah. Finding it difficult to accept those who I believe to be self-aware and awakened, especially having knowledge of oneness can operate from the ruse. Yeah. Continued. I feel like there's a lot of identification of being a chosen one, supervisor, spiritual consciousness. Triggers a lot of disappointment and guilt that things can't be different. Wow. Yeah. Ooh, good. I love this. Super spiritual, not supervising spiritual. Super spiritual. Also identification with superior spirituality. My old mentor in particular keeps coming up with this. How can you know the truth and lie pathologically? You can't. You can have a concept of truth and lie like a rug, but you can't actually know truth as yourself. See, there's the difference. There's a knowing of truth, right? And our normal way that we think of as knowing is it's a piece of information I've grasped. Oh yes, I see now. This is true. That's conceptual. Yeah. It's valuable. There's some, uses for that. But the truth is not a concept. It's a realization. I am the truth. I'm not something that knows the truth. I am the truth. Only truth recognizes truth. Truth isn't a concept. It is existence itself. Being and truth are one. Heard me use the term Sat Chit Ananda, which is a Hindu term meaning meaning, being, consciousness, bliss. It's a way of trying to describe the oneness that can't be described. So we kind of pass it through a prism, and it kind of breaks into some pieces so you can get a sense of what it is. And Sat, Chit, Ananda, which means Sat is being, existence, consciousness, or truth, reality, what is. And what is consciousness, awareness. It is not existing like a rock, right? Just with no sense of self. The consciousness of being and being are one. Truth and awareness of truth are one. They're not two. Only truth knows truth. So you're on a path in which you discover it not as something you know that is self-enhancing, right? So now I look at what I know. I've got my non-dual spiritual degree on the wall, like a little certificate, and like signed by somebody with an Indian name. Instead, it's like, oh, this is just what I am. It comes more as grace. It's just, oh, wait a minute, it's just what I am. I didn't make it that way. I can't mess it up. It's just what I am. That will undo any concepts of it. And notice that yes, I've had those. Oh man, I really know it. They don't. And now you see it in others, and it's quite repulsive, isn't it? Yeah. And coming up in you, don't be afraid of that. Of course it's going to come up in you. It's going to come up in all of us. As we begin to be freed of limitations, especially limitations that have made us feel horrible about ourselves, what's going to arise is our capacity to actually enjoy ourselves, to love ourselves, and there will be a temptation to aggrandize yourself. Look at what I know and you don't. And this is subtle in those places where you see others who have gotten sucked in to a spiritual ego, into an arrogance, right, that is enhancing not their genuine self, but their ego, their sense of self, right, which you can understand because you've been downtrodden and now you want to be uptrodden. You may end up becoming as oppressive as you were oppressed, right? Because now there's like justification, all sorts of things. But here's the thing: you see it, you caught it, and you have a teacher you can go to and say, "What's going on? What's going on here?" So that you can avoid the trap of arrogance. And boy, is it a trap! Because the pride in spiritual knowledge may be the most difficult thing to crack, especially when it's non-dual knowledge, because non-dual knowledge is logical. I mean, it's logically perfect. It's precise. So you can say it's an illusion. It's an illusion. Discount absolutely everything, including your own humanity, which makes you blind to your bullshit, basically, and just because it's all an illusion, right? It's only a matter of time when the cosmic 2x4 will appear and whack them upside the head. But I don't know when for different folks. That spiritual arrogance is a hard thing to break because it's got so much behind it to justify it, and it's got so much unresolved pain about being less than that it wants to just deny it rather than embrace it. And real non-duality means it's not two. You can't have the non-dual and dual. They're one and the same. What appears to be two is actually one, and the one manifests as many. And so even the most insignificant thing, even the experience of losing the sense of self and regaining it, is in fact part of the non-dual. Because you never are anything other than what you are. But we have the capacity to think of ourselves, to experience as if we're not. And this is the beauty of the realization. You realize that, oh, I was experiencing it. In a very real sense, I created it, but not the I that was created. I didn't do that, but this other deeper sense. It's emanated from there. And you experienced it firsthand. You experienced your mentor, some kind of spiritual teacher. You never really told me much about it, which is okay. Some kind of teacher that you really believed in, that may have even helped you in certain ways. I'm not discounting it, because it's not these evil guys, sucking your soul. It's always a mixture, some genuine insight, some genuine love, but hasn't matured enough yet to the point where you're aware that you need to be vigilant, because the deeper you go, the more subtle the opportunities for self-deception and bullshit. And if you remember that, just remember that, you know what? I don't think I'm arrogant, but that's a problem. If I was, I wouldn't see it. So I'm just going to assume it's there, and maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised that it's not, but I'd much rather be pleasantly surprised that it's not than unpleasantly that it is. And go, oh, not another face bomb. Yeah, another face bomb. There we go. So let me speak to the other part of that. Well, what do you do with people who, they're not on this path at all. They don't get it. They're not even the least bit interested. Those that are kind of dabblers, right? Those that think they know what the hell they're doing. What do you do with all of those? Well, notice what reacts to them is our own sense of identity. The judging of them is simply the judgment we've put on ourselves. But also what's there is this awakening wisdom that, I don't want to look at them like that. How do I love? Period. Just love. Even those that are not lovable. Even those that are like blind as a bat that can't see. Well, the best way is to recognize that love, like truth, is not an idea. It's not a mode of behavior. It's not a way of being. It is being itself. You are both. That is what is awakening. And because you are, all the different ways in which love can express itself are available to you. And right now, the very fact that there's grief coming up, the sacrifice of letting go of these people that once were part of your world, now have become, you're seeing that they're actually toxic. Right? Not that they want to be. Right? We don't have to condemn them. We can find the innocence there. And the blind spots that you're coming to see that they haven't seen yet. And if we recognize that this whole process in you, what you're coming to see is the gift of grace, nothing you have earned, no, I've achieved this, I know these kinds of things. And that's all nonsense. I don't know anything. Everything that I've come to, quote unquote, know has been given to me through both the experience of pain and the experience of insight. That insight deepening enough to know that it's coming to me, not from me. That is, the truth of me is not something that is coming from the false identification of me. It's coming and dispelling that. It's grace. The power that brought me here must bring me home, as Rumi put it. It is grace. As Paul said, by grace we are saved, and that not of ourselves, lest any man should boast. It's like, all we can do is say, thank you. And yeah, I've seen it in me, now I can see it in them. And it's hard to let go of people, but you know what? You don't really have to. All we have to do is let go of who we think they are. We're always having to let go of things that we're outgrowing. Always. Yeah. It can be painless, right? The little kid loves to play with trucks or dolls or whatever. Eventually they don't play with them anymore. It happens actually quite naturally. But when it comes to relationships with people and the like, the child, the young child or their best friend moves away. It's like, yeah, it's real grief. But you can remember that this is the nature of life. Everything is constantly changing. But the love that was manifest there, the love that was experienced, that is behind the grief, right, is still there. And always will be. I mean, if there was no love, there'd be no grief. So it's actually kind of the life cycle of the manifestation, why love is forever. It's undefinable. It's the nature of life itself. It's the nature of God. It's your nature is undefinable. Its manifestation is, but all manifestation has a life cycle. It comes and it goes. There's the initial meeting, connection and stuff. It develops over time, and then eventually it's going to end in some way. And this is what makes it precious and beautiful and capable, makes us capable of growing and the like. So yeah, feel the grief, recognize that grief is just the other side of love. You can't have one without the other. And then recognize that for whatever reason, you've been brought onto this path and you're walking this path. And you can just be open to sharing what's on your heart with others when the inspiration is there. But you'll do it differently. You won't kind of lay teachings on them. This is what it is. It's more of like, well, you know what? This is what I've experienced. This is what I've come to see. And this is the impact that it's had on my life. It's freed me from a lot of those things. I offer that. Because if you offer that, your love, your experience, what has touched you, that will have a power. Just a bunch of nice, really great, non-dual ideas and the like. Yeah, who cares? Oh, it's all an illusion. It's an illusion. It's like, fuck off. Who cares? But I was blind. Now I see. I was broken, and now I'm feeling whole. I was in enormous emotional pain, and now I feel a sense of freedom. I hated myself, and now I don't. That's potent. That is the right way to draw people in. Then the other becomes really meaningful. Boy, I've gone on a long time about that, haven't I? Well, let's see. I think I answered it all. I find it difficult to accept those who I believe to be self-aware and awakened, but aren't. Yes. Yeah. Well, you can see the damage that it does, right? You can see, like the mentor you have. Right? But if you separate it out, because there was something there for you to get that she delivered. I think it was a she. Yeah. And it was just, the message was not pure yet, because she wasn't pure yet. That's all. So your purity is seeing her impurity. And now you can regard her just the way you regard yourself. Right? Christ did, Father, forgive them. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. And you recognize that the grace that is moving in you is also moving in them. Yeah. Yeah. And the very fact that you notice that there's this feeling of wanting to be smug and superior. Oh, there's nothing we humans love more than an opportunity to be condescending. You see it, right? And you can understand the attraction of it. But, and those who did not have your experience, who had not yet encountered this, the true path, how easily they could get sucked into it. Right? But you're not. But you can have compassion to those that did get sucked into it, can't you? Because they didn't see what you're saying that kept you, oh geez, I don't want to, no, that is not for me. I want to be pure love. And I can feel that that's not, no. And pure love does not create a hierarchy. Pure love is absolutely equal in all dimensions. All right. Ooh, let's see. Godwin's name. Oh, Godwin is your name. Godwin. Wow, what a great name. First name or last name? Godwin? Probably last name. Yeah. Oh, what a great name. Godwin. I still wonder about universal consciousness or supra-mental states of all-knowing. Can I connect to universal consciousness in the way of being consciousness of a rock on Mars? I already feel, oops, sorry about that, wrong button. I already feel one with all, but it's different, maybe. I don't know. Also, I can just receive knowledge, but being in a state of where it's instantaneous. So, no. In a state where it's instantaneous, no. So, is there more to grow, and how to grow? What a great question. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ms. Goodwin. When we try to look at the idea or concept of universal consciousness, we end up seeing like kind of it's like I know everything. Consciousness knows everything, as if consciousness has at its disposal all sorts of knowledge about things, like a rock on Mars. Now, there are folks who have practiced various kinds of techniques and come to know some extraordinary things and have extraordinary experiences. Yes, it happens. And that kind of stuff can be available to you. But it's not the last word, and it's really a very seductive cul-de-sac that you can get stuck in. Because all knowledge, all conceptual knowledge is relative. It is not the ultimate truth because it's relative to something else. This is true because this is true. All of our religions and practices and philosophies and theologies and the like are all based on relative knowledge. Okay. All right, this is true. Therefore, all of these are true. But this true, this thing that it's based on, we defend it as being absolute, but when you look at it, you find out it isn't. It isn't absolute. It too is just relative. Well, where is the absolute truth? Where is the knowledge, the knowing that does not fluctuate? Obviously, you can't have just this infinite realm of relative knowledge. There has to be something that isn't relative, that just is. I mean, that's what truth, the concept, the idea of truth, is pointing at. It's truth, which means it's self-existent. It is not dependent upon anything else. It is not relative. It is true, period. Now, it's hard for us to conceive of that because that means it's timeless, it's boundless, it's the same everywhere. I mean, it's not a substance, it's not a thing at all. Well, the only thing that qualifies for that is you. And take attention away from this idea of universal consciousness and come instead to the consciousness that you experience every single moment of every single day. Because that's what you actually know. And that's not a concept, is it? You are conscious. You are, and you can extend that. I am consciousness. Without consciousness, would there be an I am? Would you be able to say I'm Goodwin? You wouldn't, because there'd be nobody there to say it. Consciousness is what we are. Now, in consciousness is all sorts of stuff, but it's all relative, isn't it? When I talk about that rock on Mars, it's relative to a perspective I have of me here in this place. But even Mars is a concept. Right? The rock is a concept. And all of these are formed based on the capacity of our particular senses, right, to see things. And so our senses will look at something, they'll see that object, but it's shaped by the senses itself, and then our perception of that object is now conceptual, based on our very limited perspective that we have in the first place. In other words, you know, our struggle has always been to try to find what is actually there, objectively separate from my perception of it, because my capacity for perception is limited. So a rock is an idea I have about something. If I'm a bee buzzing around, my eyes see ultraviolet light. So the world doesn't look anything like what I see. I look at the fields of pretty flowers. They look and they see intensely glowing lights everywhere. It's like they're constantly tripping. Maybe they are. I don't know. Anyway, so our sense of knowledge is something to, like, it's this quantity of stuff that we gain. So what I recommend is, let's look at the consciousness that's aware of this notion of universal consciousness. You, conscious of it, entertaining the sense of universal, feeling something about it. How is it that you could do that? The term universal, right, is relative, right, to particular, isn't it? But now you, consciousness, are aware of both universal and particular. So what are you? See, this is a path not of knowing in the normal sense we mean it, but of being. You are consciousness. There's a sense that the consciousness, I say I am, is localized. The consciousness here and the consciousness over there is different, right? But is it true? Again, I invite everybody to just pay attention to what we actually know for certain. I'm conscious. And at the essence of me is this consciousness, because without it I don't exist. So my very existence is this consciousness. It's all I know. Now, I've got ideas. Consciousness is limited. It's here but not there. But that's hearsay. That's just made up because you can't get out of consciousness and go over there and see if there's a different one. Matter of fact, all you know is this consciousness that you are. What if that is the universal consciousness? What if that consciousness that you know of as you is the very same consciousness that's here as appearing as me? It's something to contemplate. Is consciousness bounded? Is it limited to this skin, or maybe this little, tiny little thing inside the brain somewhere? Is that it? Is universal consciousness would depend on the notion of a consciousness that isn't universal. So, who are you? Focus your attention on that. The consciousness that you know, not one that's imagined, the consciousness that I know. And then you could do what Nisargadatta's teacher told him to do. Focus all your attention on that I am, the conscious awareness that you are, and give no reality to anything outside yourself. That is, give no reality to objective reality to anything that is perceived outside of you, or apparently outside of you. Because in fact, if it's appearing to you, it's not outside of you at all, is it? Because it has to appear in consciousness. If it's not in consciousness, it doesn't exist. So everything is appearing within your consciousness. That is you. So is there any difference then between you and this universal consciousness, other than just a thought? Also, I can just receive knowledge, but being in the state where it's instantaneous, known, yeah. I urge you all to let go of trying to acquire knowledge about consciousness as if it was an object separate from you that you're going to study. You are that consciousness. If you want to know what it is, look here. If I can perceive it, it cannot be me because I'm the consciousness perceiving it. And I cannot step outside of consciousness and look back at me because consciousness is what I am. So anything perceived as appearing in consciousness and not essentially consciousness itself. So then, what am I as consciousness without form? it's without form, then universal, particular, there's no boundaries on it, no beginning, no end. It's just everywhere, like space. Even space is perceived by you. Let that sense of your own consciousness become the consciousness, the self. And you'll look around and you'll see it's all the self. It's all me, not the person me, which would then see a universal consciousness, but the universal consciousness, which sees nothing but itself, but is not limited to anything at all. And everything being in and of that consciousness, it's just bathed in the love that is the nature of consciousness. Is this helping anybody? Whoops. Turn the thing there. Kicked it. What did I do? Oh, yeah. The answer to all of these questions is you. To know you, explore you. When I say, you are consciousness, contemplate that. What is it? I mean, I know I am conscious. And if I can perceive something, yes, it seems obvious that it can't be what I am. But all the knowledge I've ever had has been something perceived, so it can't be me. But if I perceive it and it can't be me, then it means I can't be perceived. How do I know that myself then? I know. And this knowing is always there. I know that I am because I am. Being and knowing are one. So it becomes, I know that I am becomes I am that I am. When the separation disappears, that's the non-dual. And that separation disappearing, the non-dual embraces all of what appears to be dual. Because the nature of it all is nothing but consciousness. It's made of consciousness, appearing in consciousness. Consciousness is all there is. Pure awareness. It's what you are. It's what we all are. All right, I'm going to let that go for now. See if we got any comments on that. Let's see. Carl. Gee, it's been a while. Yeah, it has, my friend. Been a bit lost in the human world. The more I reside in I am, so I try to slow down I am. Physical surroundings became very difficult. How to balance physical living with I am. Don't try. Here's what I recommend, my dear friends, and everybody. Make the contemplation, the desire to know who I am, be just love. Just why? Because I love myself, and I want to know myself as I am. And I want to be free of emotional pain, physical pain, whatever's there. I want that. Okay, good. So if I'm trying to be some idea of what I am is, then the world is going to be like, what do I do with all of this kind of stuff? But even before, I'm sure, my experience so far with everybody I work with in emotional healing is that I get distracted by some of the things, so I can't remember what I am. The emotional healing, that it was still an incapacity to really deal with the world and struggling with it and suffering over it. And that then these non-dual teachings that come, that resonate inside, you can feel the truth in them, right? Somehow are we're supposed to make everything all better over here. So they seem to be sitting in two different worlds. So here's what I recommend. When you're doing an inquiry of I am, I just am. And it's very simple, right? There's my thinking, I can see it. Right? So it's there, I'm here. My emotions, I'm feeling it. It's there, I'm here. There's the sensations, I'm feeling them. They're here, I'm looking at them, so I'm here. It's very simple. Right? But if you look at memories, and if you look at memories, traumas, all the stuff that comes up, right? It's going to take the shape of thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Period. Right? All of which you're seeing here. Now, just let go of wanting, for a moment, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, of wanting to fix any of this, change any of this, make any of this better. What do I do with all of this? Right? Just set that aside for a moment. To just go, well, I am. I know that I am. Right? I can see all of these things. So they're there, I'm here. Right? There's this little distance, not really a distance, right? I mean, how you measure it, it's just like there's a sense there that I'm something else. Right? And now we just put our attention on that. When I say that I am, it's just, well, I am, I know that I am, and I'm seeing all of this. I am, and I'm seeing all the stuff that's going on in my life. And I'm here. So who am I? What is this? What is this I am? I'm just am, and I can't really form any kind of concept about it. Good. Just that for 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes. And get into it and stay with it for a little while. We're just being, right? Not being something, not doing something, just for a moment, your attention is just on being. Good. Here I am. Then after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you just stop and just go live your life. It's a real subtle way of distracting. How do I take the I am and put it into my everyday life? Make it work in my everyday life. That's the false sense of I, trying to take charge of your meditation on the I am, and then do something with it. Let the I am, the reality of you, that you're becoming aware of, let that infiltrate and adjust things all on its own, who you are. Give the truth of you the opportunity to go in and start moving things about, rearranging the furniture, feng shuiing the room. Right? And really cultivate the trust in that. So it's not like this burden of what do I have to do. And then you'll notice that, well, yes, I am, and there's some suffering here. Okay, what do I do with this suffering? I want to be free of suffering. And you've learned enough to know that the suffering, you can't be really free of suffering just by trying to change experiences around. Get some relief for a bit, but then it's back, right? That's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's a tiny little bit of difference, but then it's back. So what's the real cause of suffering? Well, the cause of suffering is the meaning and importance I've given to conditions. Right? And that meaning and importance is a reflection of how I'm thinking of myself, how I am seeing myself as a person rather than as the I am. Now, as you heard me say, sometimes the suffering that's there requires some methods for emotional healing, which are not contradictory or in conflict at all with that sense of I am. But if you don't try to take charge of getting the I am into your everyday life, but instead just being with the I am, and then going into life and just there's a very natural kind of a deepening of awareness there. It can actually even be a sense of deeper suffering, because the suffering becomes less and less tolerable. But it's kind of like, Christ used to withdraw himself, go up into a mountain to pray. Now, did he always go up into a mountain? What it represents the fact that he would take the time to just step away from what he was doing, just go back and commune with I am. And he even said, when you pray, go into your closet, shut the door, and pray in secret. I am. I'm not any of those things. I don't really understand all this, but it's clear. I'm not what I am perceiving. I can't perceive myself. Who am I? Show me. But then he said that the Father, the truth, the reality, the I am, which sees in secret, will reward you openly. It's beautiful. You don't have to take this huge burden on yourself, how to make it all work. You just, little by little, the cultivation of this in itself you'll see it. You'll see grace going on. You'll notice that when you normally would have reacted, you didn't. Which means the sense of yourself is being transformed by the I am. It's not you trying to implement it into your life. And when you're talking about a lot of emotional pain and stuff, I always invite people to my classes for emotional healing. Not really classes. They're ongoing, it's ongoing. Every week I do it. And then there's additional pre-recorded information that will help sustain it. But it's just keep going. It's a regular immersion in this with others in a sangha. And the emotional healing I do on Saturdays, the self-inquiry I do on Wednesdays, I keep them apart even though they overlap. But it's just to maintain the clarity of the difference between them, which very naturally just kind of dances together. Everybody who comes to me now for a private session sees something on YouTube or the like, because I've got this particular thing. I say, sometimes it's somebody where it is just this one little thing, you dispense with it, that's it. I never see him again. But with most, I'm finding the folks who are coming to satsang and to make emotional healing, they're looking for the big transformation. It's not just a fix anymore that they want. They want their lives to become more rich, more centered, more there. That requires immersion, persistence, consistency, guidance, and I can't do that in a YouTube video, and I can do some here. Right? But if I'm actually sitting with you on Zoom, because people all over the world, and we're interacting, I can be much more specific. And little things, and a lot of people here are a part of that, and they can testify to it, because it's. I just think it's absolutely necessary at this point, which is why I push it, but it's also why I price it so cheaply. People are shocked when they find out how much I charge for it. What? Because my peers charge a whole lot more. I gotta charge something, because I I didn't make great investment decisions throughout my life. Taking a little break for me here. To give myself a little space to make sure I'm really picking up on all the energy, because this is a very simple path. And as far as I can tell, it is the ultimate path. I can't see anything beyond it, because what could be beyond you simply inquiring into you? What's beyond you? You are the ultimate authority. Anything you say is true becomes true for you. You're the one who decides, is this true, it is not. Do you realize the authority that is? You're the one deciding what's true. Wow. So who are you that's deciding what the truth is? How did you get that authority? But it always is, right? People are trying to convince us things are true and get you to agree with them to like, but ultimately nobody can make you believe anything. You have to decide. And the more you trust in that, the more you know yourself, the more you know yourself as just the I am, the clearer you can discern the differences between things, the subtleties and the like, and you can see the relative value of everything, and the knowledge that it's relative, not that it's relative. And that it can be valuable and useful for a time, but doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't become a dogma. There's no such thing as a true theology. There's no such thing as a true thought. The truth is the one perceiving. That's the ultimate, and that's you. Right, let's see what's... Oh, Savvy. I am becoming more gentle, forgiving, and compassionate with myself because everything I've learned from you. Oh, boy, does that do my heart good. Somatic experience is just another level to go deeper, to feel safe in my body. Oh, I'm so happy. Yes, it is. We were just not safe in our own bodies. Our feelings became dangerous. They became an enemy, right? So what else are you going to do? You're a little kid, you're being traumatized. You can't change anything, so you detach from your feelings. Because you're frightened, you feel put upon, you're in a little corner, and what are you going to do? All you can do is just not feel it. That's what I did. That's the disassociation. And all sorts of different ways in which we do it, but that's what I did as a severely abused kid. You just don't feel anymore. And for me, that meant going into my head, as well as a lot of other really weird stuff. Using all sorts of different ways to try to have feelings. But somehow it all worked together to bring me here. So it's like, well, thank you. Thank you, Lord, for this disastrous life. It brought me to you. And you all to me. How delightful. Oh, Roberto in Granada now. Love it. Tomas, is the only purpose of Maya to turn attention back to the self? Yeah, when Maya is seen as Maya, you naturally turn away from it. You become increasingly sensitive to how subtle it are. How subtle. What is Maya? For those of you who don't know, it's a Hindu term, Hindu spirituality that refers to the great illusion. It's not a thing, it's not a force, it's an illusion. Right? For years in the West, we believed that the earth was sitting still and that the sun was going around it. Because that's how it appeared to the senses. It made perfect sense, right? If you don't ponder it that much. By the way, that wasn't the case everywhere. I mean, I took in India and that area, and in Asia, they thought that. I think they already knew it was. That's kind of a Western thing that happened because the church got so powerful. Well, this is where Christ came and is coming again. So this must be the center of the universe, and everything revolved around it. And there were a lot of folks who saw the earth like this. Remember, the idea of this vastness of the universe didn't exist, right? I'm getting off on stuff. Anyway, so we believed it to be the case. And so we lived as if it were the case. So we were living a great illusion. And because we didn't grasp that it was an illusion, when things didn't make sense, we'd come up with really weird ways of trying to make it, okay, it's because of this. And, right? This God did this kind of thing, or whatever. Because we were looking through the eyes of the illusion and just not being able to recognize that we're seeing it is showing me that I'm not actually seeing it as it is. Right? I mean, if I'm in the desert and I'm thirsty and it's hot and I'm seeing a mirage and I'm moving towards it, I'm going to see it there. That's an illusion that's quite destructive, isn't it? I'll just keep going and eventually die until I see that it is an illusion. When I see that it's an illusion, it doesn't mean the illusion is going to go away. It just means that I know it's an illusion now, and I'm not going to act on it. Right? The snake and the rope. In a dim light, the rope looks like a snake. I'm going to run away afraid, even though there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm living out the illusion. The great illusion is that you are the body, and this body is in a world that exists separate from you. That separation is the great illusion. That is the identification with form. And that impulse to identify with form is kind of at the root of Maya. It's always suggesting that you're a form of some sort, which is the illusion. You're not. But if I believe that I am, I take that on, I live like it, I think like it, I feel like it. Everything around me looks separate. I experience the fear of the separation and the like. So Maya is the great illusion that you are the body, which believed makes it look like, just like the mirage, makes it look like that's the case, even though it isn't. And the powerful impulse, which is subtler than the illusion, the powerful impulse to believe the illusion, the powerful impulse to identify with form, which is the subtle energy of Maya. Now, does Maya have a purpose? You could say Maya works for God, right? Because everything arises out of the truth, out of true consciousness. So So the purpose of Maya isn't to bring you back to the self, but the grace that allows you to see Maya as Maya. Not all at once, by the way. It's a progressive thing. It gets subtler and subtler until you finally see that it is just the impulse to identify with any form. Even if I get a nice idea of an enlightened being form, it's still a form that I'm going to, the impulse to identify with it. It's just that sense of wanting to be something. It's very subtle, but it is the most subtle of all. And it is only you that is not an illusion, and more subtle than that can detect it. It is so subtle that it cannot be conceived of by the mind, and it cannot be perceived by the senses. It's impalpable. The only way we come to see it is because you are more subtle. You are what is. It is what isn't. But the impulse to identify, it is the impulse of I am to become I am this or that or the other, whatever. Yeah. Your desire to come back to yourself, which is the self. Yourself, the self, same thing. It's not something grand out there. It's this self you know all so well, which is coming out of identification with form. And then you see the impulse to identify, which is Maya. And we give it a name, so you can, that's what it is. That's what it's referring to. And now you use that name to say, okay, there is, so the sense I am is susceptible to this until it's seen. So then, am I the illusion? Well, no, I can't be an illusion. Illusion can't have an illusion. There's got to be something real here that's having the illusion. So the reality of that can see the illusion as illusion, can see Maya as Maya, can see the conditioning of the nervous system and human form that we all experience as conditioning and not myself. The impulse to identify with conditioning is Maya. And you find that, okay, I'm disidentifying with that. I want to identify with something else. Right? I'm not this kind of person. I'm this kind of person. Right? I'm not, just all that selfish. No, I'm good and I'm kind and I'm compassionate. I'm not a money grubber anymore. I'm playing a hang drum and going to yoga class. Definitely improvements, right? But there's still the sense of identity there. And identity is a form, and form is going to be shoop. It's going to be limiting. Yeah. And improved forms are great. They're wonderful. Just don't get caught there. Just keep going. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Maya is, why is it like this? Oh man, I don't know. The potential is inherent in the self. It has no limits whatsoever. That's the non-dual aspect of it. It is not confined to one side or another. It's neither good nor bad. It's neither dual nor non-dual. It neither exists nor does not exist. You cannot give it any category that defines it whatsoever. It is pure emptiness. But even emptiness is empty. So the self simply refers to that which is. You are, right? I don't think anybody here is going to say, I don't exist. Of course you do. You exist, don't you? You are what is. Right? And we're just separating that what is from all the ways in which I appear. So I believe myself is not what I am. What am I? That's what is called the self, and it's not an illusion. You're not an illusion. You have them, right? But this, because it is that you, the self, reality, is beyond all opposites, cannot be conceived of. It has the capacity to manifest, and manifest requires opposites in order to manifest. You can't have dark without night, or dark without light, or day without night. You can't have a masculine without a feminine. Right? You can't do it. You can't have up without down. You can't pick up just one side of a stick. Right? It all comes together. This opposites, this yin-yang, is, in fact, necessary for manifestation to take place. So the one essence, God, the reality, gives rise to both, and is beyond both. So out of the arising of the sense I am, which arises out of the reality that, because before you could have a sense I am, you have to be, right? Comes the capacity to be I am this or that, to identify. Simple as that. That's, and at the same time, you, the self, out of which it has arisen, it's not identified with anything. It is the ultimate pure witnessing, which is happening all the time. Definitely, even, yeah. And sometimes I don't know if I'm hitting a home run first base, striking out. Sometimes I feel like I'm really nailing it. Other times I have no idea. Today's one of those days when I don't know, because it seems as though some of my answers aren't directly hitting on a question, but I'll let you in on a secret. I'm not really a teacher. I'm a guy who says whatever comes to his mind to say. So if teaching is happening, not my fault. What am I doing? So let's see. If you need more Tomas, just let me know. And May says, yes, definitely. Even the fear, cautiousness of possibility of being arrogant is better than denying it altogether. Yeah, be aware of it. Be vigilant. Yeah. Mentioned before, Papa G, a genuine, fully enlightened master, right? Beyond all of this, correct? Knows who they are. Would always talk about being vigilant. And one day a student asked, Papa, do you have to be vigilant? He says, until my dying breath. Yeah. All right. Just be vigilant. Christ put it beautifully, because he said, when you're invited to an event, right? Don't go pushing yourself up to take the front table. Right? Sit in the back. Just sit in the back. And maybe they recognize you. They'll invite you to the front. Then go. But don't put yourself there. Remain the humble recipient of grace. And so, yes, I heard Moody, my own teacher, say, oh, yeah, I'm always, he says, assume you're arrogant. I do. Just assume it's there and you just haven't seen it. That's the place of real honesty. Don't claim something for yourself that you haven't really done. Share what's on your heart. That's it. That's all this is about. Share what's on your heart. You'll never overstep or over present yourself. Just, we are all bozos on this bus. We're all we're all fucked up. So let's all just rejoice in our fucked upness and just humbly love each other. Being in the same boat, and just we're here to support each other. So the discovery of who I am is simultaneously the discovery of who we are. So nobody gets to like, yeah, first one to enlightenment wins. First name, Godwin. What a beautiful first name. Wow, Godwin. Wow. Interesting that, wow, really interesting name to be given. Unless you chose it for yourself. Ali, condescending? Not me. Never. Yeah, good self-reflecting sarcasm is, yeah. But you know, I'm a great fan. The difference now is I can catch it before acting it out. Better in my head than out in the world, but nonetheless, it'll move in. Yeah, you are catching it. You are catching it. You're so honest and open, and have always been since I've known you. Yeah, it's great. Okay, KC, hi GP, just caught you live, enjoying your discussion. Well, thank you. Yeah, because mostly I've seen you commenting on my tapping videos. So this is the other side of the equation. I'm glad you're here. Godwin, no, I'm not about conceptual knowledge. It's about consciousness, awareness. There's nothing more than here now, and that's good as well. But then I misunderstood universal consciousness as a term. Yeah, well, universal consciousness and individual consciousness are not two. The universal appears as the particular, and the particular manifests the universal. Heart Sutra, is profound of the Buddha's teachings. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. It's so inconceivable to our minds, which requires division, because they require the duality for their relative knowledge, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't work for absolute knowledge, which is what we're wanting here. Right? Finding of this tiny little time slice of a moment, it is simply you. You're here, right? And you are now. You can entertain thoughts about the past, ideas about the future, all of that appearing right here, right now. You are the universal consciousness experiencing form, experiencing consciousness, manifesting as a particular realm of experience, bubble of experience, everything else within my little bubble of consciousness, right? So you see me within your bubble of consciousness. I don't actually exist in there any more than if I appeared in your dream. I'm not in your dream. Right? That is, the image of me, the sense of me would appear in your dream. But that sense of me would really be a projection of you, which is exactly what this is anyway. Right? So when I think of myself as a particular consciousness rather than a bunch of different consciousnesses out there. But if instead I see it as as that I am simply the universal consciousness. So everything that is in fact me is appearing as a bunch of individuals. And that individual, I could say, is the same consciousness experiencing itself from this direction. So it's not like different people or anything. It's the same one universal consciousness perceiving itself from an infinite variety of points of view. Perspective being what we are, individual in the universe, perception of the whole universe, the world. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. In fact, the world is nothing other than our perceiving, that is, universal consciousness perceiving itself from a particular point of view. With Maya, that sense of identification with the form, it then feels as if I'm this individual, localized consciousness experiencing the existence of other localized consciousness as objective fact. In fact, it's not an objective fact. I am perceiving myself from a point of view. The point of view is the particular. The ultimate perceiver of the particular is the universal. And you are both. When we have to put it in terms of both, we use language. The fact is, you are both, you are neither, you're not one or the other. It is simply the one manifesting as many, and yet always remaining one. And you are that one. Is that better? Did I do a better job that time? Well, I hope so. I want to get high marks. Goodwin, yeah, I am familiar with that state quite well. Just wondering if there's an expansion still of that being. There's no, just look, right? Let's just look together at that because, and you're welcome, Nay. Because it's really important that this be something from your own looking. Just consider, just the sense of being. Right? Just set aside all the rest for a moment. We'll get back there in a second. And all the ideas and thoughts and experiences and everything, which have all been, on this screen, and you've been the witness of it. So just being. Does being itself expand or contract? Can you add anything to it or take anything away? Is it that kind of a thing? Right? So, depending on your answer, I'm just going to have to assume that you give me the answer that I can discern. I think you understand that no, being itself doesn't expand or contract. Because if it did, it would mean that it had a form that was then expanding. Right? Okay, so being itself, the self, reality, is beyond expanding and contracting. Right? Which means that it's capable of manifesting expansion right? And contraction. It is capable of experiencing the full range of that. So, in the form, I was talking about this earlier, is constantly expanding, isn't it? And the nature of us human beings is to want to grow, to evolve. This isn't it anymore. It's going to be something else. And really identified with the form, and we feel compressed and the like. But without the identification of the form, we see it's just this incredible expansion, inexhaustible expansion that's taking place on this level, and yet the the self, the essence, the beingness that is witnessing the expansion isn't expanded. It doesn't have dimensions. It can't expand because it's not in space and time. Expansion requires space, right? And something to expand into, which means you must be the totality, the infinite, or it would hit a boundary. And again, the expansion would only be from a particular point of view, wouldn't it? But the expansion then is being seen. Infinite expansion, unlimited expansion, could only be seen from that place which is infinite and unlimited. And no matter how big it gets, there's always room for it because it is not bounded. It is not in space. Space is part of the manifestation. Space is also an appearance. God doesn't occupy space. Space is inherent in objects. Without objects, there is no space. Space, objects, one and the same. Events, time, one and the same. There isn't time and then events happen in it. There's events happening, and the relative perception of those is what we call time. Same thing with objects. Right? Space isn't something they're occupying. Space and the objects arise simultaneously. And it's the relative distance between the two of them. So I see that is there, this is here, but that's an appearance. You're always just here. It's always just here. But here is not local. Here is everywhere. The great shaman and Native American leader, Black Elk, in his vision in North Dakota, but the center of the universe is everywhere. He grasped the union, the oneness of the singularity of the universal and the particular. The center of the universe is you, right? Which is what you experience. But the center of the universe is everywhere. Because the universe is just you knowing you. The universe is expanding. Into what? From what? Just know yourself as the pure, unbounded witness of it all. And then what is being witnessed will no longer seem burdensome or troublesome. Yeah, so being doesn't expand, but experience does. And experience is contingent, it's secondary to being. Know yourself as pure being, which is timeless, formless, boundless, nothing in particular. And then you'll see that everything that is experienced it's God looking in a mirror. It's you. You're seeing yourself, but but the self has no boundaries. So it's all just, you're the air, you're the wind, you're the sun, you're the galaxy, you're the black hole, you're the blade of grass. It is all the self. And everywhere the eye looks, it sees the face of God. That is itself. Let's see. That's a very good point, that of course the rock also depends on the viewpoint. Indeed, everything does. Yes, yeah, indeed. I am conscious. Why are there border limits? Yeah, I agree, but okay, then there's not much left to grow, maybe. Yes, okay. Yeah, the, it's the dual and non-dual. They're not two. Yeah, one never becoming anything one, but experiencing expansion, because it's beyond our ideas of many and one, dual and non-dual. You are beyond that. And you can grasp that simply because you can see that. I can see both. What is it that's looking that sees both? What is it that's looking and sees expansion? And yet, when I just kind of put my attention just on the sense I am, it's not expanding, it's not moving, it's not changing. And yet, all of this is changing constantly. They're, they're one. Changeless and the change are one. This is something inside of you just goes, yeah, it's true. I'm never going to understand it conceptually. I'm never going to be able to grasp it like that. My heart just knows it's true. And I am that. True. Just figured, reading some things of Sri Aurobindo and others, that there was something more, maybe? Thank you. Yeah, there's something more always. But how could its moreness be perceived if there wasn't something absolutely unmoving to cognize the differences? Something must be absolutely unmoving to be able to cognize expansion, isn't it? There's something that is just completely surrounding it all. That's you. That's you. You're that big. Big, big, small. Just love yourself. Love your real self. Yeah. Just as somebody asked before about the I am, just don't try to force it. It was Carl. Don't try to force it. Come to some of my classes. Huh? Don't try to force it. Just like, I know that I am, and that I amness, being the truth, will reveal it all. Yeah. It will reveal it to me, and I can trust in that. And then you find yourself just kind of falling in love with the whole process, the process itself. We're not so concerned about where I'm going to get. I'm going to get to the place I call enlightenment, because there is no such place. It's right here. Yeah, it's not something different. It is the realization that this is it, and I am it, and it's just here, and everything's okay just the way it is. And I don't have to get someplace, and it's constantly unfolding to me, recognizing me as the unchanging, giving existence to the changeful, and loving it. Just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. And I'm it. It's almost as if God so gets to re-experience itself, its own immensity and its own just breathtaking beauty. Sees its own beauty in the contrast. I know it's. I look into it. I can't find words to express it other than it's just absolutely perfect. And it's you. And even difficulties, the suffering, the things we go through, somehow they're part of the deal. Not a mistake, not a flaw on my part. But I don't know. Yeah. All I know is that my human life gets freer, my heart gets more open, I love more, I accept more. And I take enormous amount of pleasure in trying to put into words what can't be put into words. The utter futility of it actually makes it even more interesting. Yeah. Oh, I love you too. Hello, Liza. Carl, thanks, JP. Helpful. Is the extreme sensitivity that seems to come with more awareness the truth or separate self? The suffering from the increased awareness is the result of thinking of me as a person becoming more self-aware, rather than the self appearing as me, clearing away the clouds that aren't me. And it's part of the deal. It's okay, because the sensitivity and the suffering and not knowing what to do is also appearing on the screen for you to embrace lovingly. Right? It's a problem I got to fix. No, it's not. It's what's unfolding here. You're seeing things that you hadn't seen before, and that sense creates suffering. And if there's suffering there, it means there's still some identification with the separate self. Thank you for showing me that. It's not a problem, it's a revelation. So take me deeper. Lord, purge me of ego and replace me with you. It's a real, honest-to-God desire. And in such a way that faith increases, that there's no ultimate. I can't picture the ultimate, called the final step of realization. I can't picture it. I feel it's here, drawn to it. It's not future, it's not past, it's this moment somehow. And so I humbly and wholeheartedly submit to however that is unfolding, because that's the story that's unfolding. The increasing awareness is part of what's happening on the screen, isn't it? It's part of the dream. It's not really a burden, and it's got to go like this, and you personally are not in charge of it. So it seems, he said, the sensitivity seems like a burden. To who? And appears to take a lot of work to manage. Who's trying to manage it? See, yeah, okay, sensitivity. There's an awareness, right? Yeah. And the awareness makes more sense. Oh my God, this is all going on. Whereas before we were kind of dull to it, weren't we? So, yeah, it's there. And now we're going, oh my God, this is not fun. I was living in an illusion about it, and it's not what it appears to be. And yes, it's going to feel like it's contraction. Okay, good. So now, don't try, how do I get rid of that? But, okay, so now I see more, I'm feeling more, I am more sensitive. And to be more sensitive means I'm going to be sensitive to the really great stuff and more loving and that for others, but I'm also going to be sensitive to all of it, right? I turned the light on in the room, there was a lot of crap in there. Okay, fine. Don't now suddenly become somebody who sees all of that and has to do something about it, right? Oh, it's a burden now. I've got all this work I have to manage. That's Maya, who's now taken a different form, the one who says, before I'm this, and then suddenly it's like, oh my God, I am seeing this. I'm awareness of the of this. And what happens? Maya that was identified here now goes, oh look, I see it. Oh, look at this. Is this the truth or a separate self? How do I figure that out? Yeah, it's so burdensome. How do I get rid of it? It's so hard to manage it. Notice, it's just another I has appeared, which is, of course, the sense of a separate. There is no separate self, okay? That's the illusion. It doesn't exist. But there's a sense of it. And when you see that every time there's an opening, an insight, Maya, which is a shapeshifter, is going to now step out of the identity that it was in, that believed it and was immersed in it, and is now going to step back here to make a new identity based on this new experience. And so, and look at the result. The sensitivity has stopped me going into the deeper lately, which is exactly what it wants. Because in the depths, Maya is no more. So, who's the I that is so sensitive and so burdened? Who's the one that has to manage everything? Is that the self? I mean, does God get up one day and say, oh, God, it's such a burden, all these people and all their problems. Jesus Christ, when do I get a break? That's not the self, isn't it? Is it? Couldn't be. It just couldn't be. The self is pure love, pure expanse. Just, there's nothing there to vibrate. But it can be aware of. So just take it deeper, Carl. Take it deeper. Join the Sangha, for Christ's sake. Jesus. Oh, how is it that I can't sell people on the need to just like consistency and Sangha and all of that? How did the Zen teacher put it? I spent my whole life selling water, standing by a river. Is that helpful, my friend? It's so good to see you again. I've missed you. Fatima, you're late. Never too late. But I started late, right? I started really late. Because I was up late last night, just playing movie night with the family. It was great. Jacqueline, beautiful truth spoken by beautiful you. Oh, Jacqueline. Oh, you're very dear to me. So thank you for that. All right, everybody. We seem, we're over 2 hours, and I don't see any more questions. Just reach out to me, comment about this or something about getting into my immersive classes. I used to have, I think at its peak, I had like 110, 120 classes on my teaching platform. And maybe I just got old. I just could not manage all of that anymore. Just cutting it back, to now, I really don't do anything new. It's a couple things I've done by request. A workshop just for women, another one just for men. It's the only thing I've done other than the emotional healing, right, and the self-inquiry sangha, because it all comes down to that. There's a lot of different things you can talk about, a lot of avenues you can go off into. Right? But for me, the essential, right, is coming to the place in which you know who you are, which is self-inquiry, but also you like your humanness. You're okay with your own humanness. You've come to a place of self-acceptance that isn't grandiose, spiritual, not because you've accomplished something or you've done something huge or you have high ambitions, but because you've just learned to love yourself as you are. The patently fucked up you. That kind of self-acceptance, which is an opening of the heart that then opens up the inquiry. Because the inquiry can't stay here. We use the mind in inquiry to point to these places, but to truly taste the honey of the self, the nectar of reality, the heart has to open. And I find that everyone I find comes to me as a student, their hearts are wanting to open, but there's things holding back, fear, doubt, all sorts of things. I don't have anybody come that isn't full of heart. Hence, I can say quite proudly that this little sangha that has grown up around this is a just extraordinarily loving place. There's no criticism, no judgments, nothing but loving support. And people who that love for others has grown out of the fact that they've felt the suffering themselves. So when they see it in others, there's nothing there to judge or criticize. It's not a learned kind of, I'm not judgmental. It's like, I'm really not. Because, man, I know what that feels like. Yeah. And that's the, yeah. There were times I tried to be arrogant. I thought I really had it down. But life was so kind. It would just smack me up the head, makes me fail at things that it was just reaching to pick the fruits of my actions, and vanished, just out of thin air for the most inexplicable reasons. And I found it to be, that's love, directing me to the highest. Not what I thought it was. Not me wanting to be proud of it, but eradicating me. The me I thought I was. And that's what's happening. And what's behind it is love itself. Nothing in your life has been your fault or to blame. It's not a personal failing. It's not because somehow you messed up in this or past life or something. It's because it's time for you to wake up and see yourself as you actually are. And sometimes that means exposing places where stuff that we've been clinging to, coming face to face with stuff that's happened to us that really wasn't fair, it was cruel, and we suffered for it. All of that. It's all in the hands of love. I swear to God. Nothing's being done to you because you're bad or deserve it, punishment or anything. Everything to show you exactly how incredibly wonderful and beautiful and unspeakably free you actually are. Mm. Yeah. All right, my loves. I will see you all very soon, and some of you I will see Wednesday in the Sangha. Until then, love you all.